Hey everyone, thanks for coming back and hope you enjoyed the scene breakdown from my first feature film as a DP, A Road to a Village by Nobeen Suba. I'm going to be talking about my second feature film, which I also shot this year in 2022, Fulbari by Ram Babu Gurung. Let's jump into it. Okay, diving into Fulbari, I want to start with how I got the project. After shooting A Road to a Village, the main actor's name is Daya Rai and Pashupati Rai. Those two people recommended me to director Ram Babu Gurung. Ram is one of the most known and commercially respected filmmakers of Nepal in this day. He made a series called Kabaddi that he ended up producing 4 films, and each one was a great success in box office. So I was lucky enough to be considered for his next project. We started the conversation, talked about rates, got the script, read through the script. I liked the story. It's a family drama, pretty heavy. I typically like sadder movies, and this definitely had that, about a family kind of falling apart as the mom is sick and her 3 sons are grown and not really there for her. There are scenes in hospitals, there's scenes in the tea gardens of Nepal, and then there's a lot of scenes in Kathmandu at the oldest son's house as she's getting her treatment. So once I got the job, I started talking to the director about the visual language of the story, aspect ratio, lenses, all those kind of things. We landed on 2:3:9 aspect ratio because Fulbari is a commercial film. It's made for cinemas in Nepal. And the cinemas, I found out, are all CinemaScope. In America, I feel like most of our theaters are 16:9, so you get black bars at the top and the bottom, but not in Nepal. In Nepal, it's actually widescreen screens. So in order to take up the full advantage of the screen so you don't have black bars on the left and the right, shoot 2:3:9, and this is a family film, so it doesn't need a lot of interesting characteristics as far as like smeary fall off or anamorphic bokeh would be nice, but it's not necessary. What it needs is beauty and vibrancy and a warm feeling. So I ended up bringing over Cooke S5s from Mumbai and had them shipped up to Nepal with a caretaker, and we were able to secure those, and that brings a lot to the look of the film. They're T1.4, and no Nepal film has ever been shot on Cooke. I don't even know if a Nepal film has been shot at 1.4, which we did. Around 75% of the shots were wide open. I don't think there's much more to say about it. Let's dive in to Fulbari. We've got a scene where our main character is meeting with the manager of a tea factory. He needs to get some money, and it's an interesting scene, and I think one of my theories or philosophies on Fulbari was kind of the Fincher idea of only moving the camera when the character is moving. And if a character is not moving, the camera isn't moving, or it's just subtly pushing in.
Fincher has a very specific way of using them, which falls in line with his reputation as a perfectionist. Essentially, what he tries to do is have the camera exactly match the velocity and direction of the moving character in the frame. When the character stops, the camera stops too, and starts again when the person starts to move again.
So I did that a lot. Right before these frames that you're seeing, these two people are walking through the tea factory, and I have a dolly move. And right when they sit down at this table, we're locked off, and we have traditional coverage. 2 shot wide and then 2 close-ups. I like to have a little foreground, midground, and background. Usually that's the case. You see it right here. I have the wall. I could have framed slightly to the right, but creating layers is one thing, I think, a tool of cinematographers. Another thing is kind of framing people centered or within frames. This door is not as great of an example. This is a better example. You have a frame right here, and then you frame the subject in there. What we did to accomplish this look was we had a 1.8K and another 1.8K up here. This one creating that harsh backlight, creating these highlights. The other 1.8K is right here, but we have it diffused with a 4x4 diffusion hitting the back of him, creating that highlight, but also lighting her face. It's because of the diffusion, it's creating a nice fall off where the shadows aren't too harsh on her face, and you're not getting like her shadow down here. So these two 1.8Ks are mounted right to rafters, so you don't have stands. This is another thing when you're talking with your crew, always ask questions. If something's in your shot, usually if it's a good grip, good key grip, they can figure out a way around that, whether it's rigging it from a ceiling or using a wall spreader, also known as a king pole in Nepal. You can get your lights where you want them, but not have stands in your frame. So that's what we did here. We mounted those two 1.8s right there. We have like a 4x4 or a 6x6. Bouncing the light from this 1.8. I love that technique actually. Putting your light on a far key side, but then putting a bounce on the other side, you get still a nice ratio on the face, but you can decide how dark you want the camera side by having that bounce on the other side. Let's keep moving on. I wanted to talk about these two frames because I wanted to share about the process of determining that we were gonna go silhouette on them. And also that not all the time do you have to use every light. On this project, I had a good amount of lights, more than I typically do. This guy is telling this guy some really heavy news. And I turned to the director and what would you feel like if I left this silhouette? Because it is a commercial film, that's the other thing. People are coming because Bipin, this actor, is in the film. They wanna see his face. This is Daya, he's one of the biggest actors in Nepal. And I silhouetted him. You can't even see who that is. But in the story, he's carrying his mom from a medical clinic, and it's a heavy moment. And then he's delivering heavy news to Bipin's character. So I thought leaving them in the darkness would be the best choice. So we turned off all the lights and we shot it that way. Again, with the whole Fincher movement thing, this one, he comes out of a room from over here and he lands right here to meet with him, and we dollied from a door that swings open. We had a curved dolly track that went all the way over to this corner. We dollied with them and landed right here, center framed. Then once they're talking there, we're stuck. We're not moving anymore. With the one below this right here, he came out from this door and then he's walking towards camera like this, and I'm doing a slight push in as he's walking to the camera. Not much lighting, but I really like those frames. Now this scene, we needed a lot of lighting because it's a very big space. So we had a 1.8 outside this, hitting here, creating that. We had a 12x12 above because the ceilings were so high, we couldn't even bounce our 4K and 1.8 bouncing up into this and coming down. That's what's lighting her and him. And then for her, this is lighting her as well, but to give a bit more shape, we ended up just putting a 600D over here outside of frame inside, so we're not having to shoot as far, and then a 200 over here shooting into like a 4x4 bounce, hitting this side, and then this is what's creating that shape. along with the ambient light. But I didn't want to blow out these windows. They're still a little bit brighter than I wanted. I mean, if I had an 18K or something, I could have done more, but I believe on this film I think we had one more 4K as well that's out here, but I just had two 4Ks and two 1.8s. I had a 6K Dino and a 5K solar, and then some LED stuff, so nothing too big. This is another one of my favorite scenes. It's a small scene. Daya's character is watching a TV. Here's the TV in the foreground. It's a little bit hard to see, but we did have an LED tube just off next to the camera, bringing this exposure up, because otherwise that was black. We have a 1.8 over here. It was being double diffused, if I remember correctly, which means we're shooting into a 8x8, and then we had like a 4x4 silk and there's a window right here, and then that is what's coming in here. Now this was all dark when I exposed for him, so we have like a 600D in this hallway. I love the natural feeling of this. I love the tones. I love the shape of his face, and he's just a great actor, so he's fun to work with. This one's a fun one. So there's two different ways, and I have them both here, that I lit interior nights. This one, moonlight, tungsten. This one, all tungsten, and very warm. I love working with tungsten lights. I think they're so beautiful. So we have like a 650 up here backlighting all of this scene. That's really what's doing majority of the work here. In the kitchen, we had two tubes up here, one hitting this side of her face, one hitting this side of her face. There's a 300 over here backlighting her. If you don't like how a tube is filling a space, my grips would always cut a bunch of black paper and cut the light wherever you don't want it. That's, I think, the biggest difference when you're working with a crew that I haven't had, the luxury on a lot of my short films before this, is when I'm lighting, I don't have the time or the people to do the minute changes that make something much better. So usually I might throw a tube up there, but then, to finesse it to where you have these pools of light and pools of shadow. That's the beauty of having a crew. And this one, I was actually surprised. That 650, we just let it play. But again, you see, I could have shot him on a single, but I love creating these layers with the foreground right here, and then you have midground, and on this one, you have a little bit of background. Another thing I love using is leading lines. You have like this leading line in a hallway. This leading line, it's pointing your eye towards the characters. That's one thing I like to do. I mean, center framing in a hallway, it typically does that for you. This is a good example. So another tool that I like to use. Let's move on. This one was an interesting one because we could have shot it at night, but we had already been working, I think, 8 or 10 hours or something, and everyone wants to go, back to the hotel and rest. So I kind of made that judgment call of like, let's just skirt. So this is on the second floor of a house. On the outside, we skirted this whole area with a 12x12. They put 2 Nanlite Pavo tubes, set them to kind of a blue tone. I put my white balance somewhere right in the middle, 4300s, 4500s, so that the blues become a little more blue and the tungstens become a little more tungsten. But the cool thing about this one is when we were looking at the location that was given to us, a lot of times on these features, we couldn't choose the locations. But what we found, me and the assistant director, Arjun, we found these mirrors here and over here. I wish I had the reverse shot for you, but Just trust me. There's another mirror over there. And we were like, that'd be kind of interesting to tell the story where you can see both people's reactions at all times. And usually you can't do that on an OTS. So that's what we did. We have him placed in a spot where you can see him in this mirror, and then her, obviously, in a spot where you can see her reactions. And it was a nice little setup. Let's move on to exterior night. This is a car crash sequence. Now, we didn't actually film the car crash, but we filmed the aftermath. I can't go into too much, but it's a heavy sequence, obviously. What the director was talking about was lighting it from the ambulance and the car's lights. So that's kind of the idea. So you have like the ambulance down here, and then you have the car over here. And that's what's giving this spill on this red wall in the background. You see it right there. And the ambulance is down there. You can see a little bit of the ambulance lights. And what I did to just fill in the space to light her face was just one 4K up here on the hill, bouncing into a 12x12. Simple. Far side coming in, filling the space, and that was one long tracking shot, dolly shot, left to right, back, right to left. The last two things I want to mention about this scene is it was shot at 30 frames per second and brought down to 24, so that's why it feels a little bit slow motion. The other thing is, before we started shooting it, I had asked the production manager if we could get a flashlight for Bipin to be carrying and add that as another integral part of the lighting. Another thing I wanted to touch on with exterior nights is using a lot of practicals. We showed up at this space and I liked how it looked already with this kind of green tone. And he's hanging out with his buddies here playing guitar. I had them put extras back there, had this guy working in the back. We moved around different things. You always want to check out your frame, make sure there's nothing distracting. I think there was like some big like barrel right here. I remember that, and we told them to remove that. A lot of those things at first, but as far as the lighting goes, I just exposed the camera for what was there. So use the practical lighting. Even if you have all the tools at your disposal, you can still use these, because these are like, you know, they've got those little color problems and it feels real. And I like that. So the only thing I did here was I put one of those Nanlite Pavo tubes right above, and that's what's lighting our four characters. Then his phone starts ringing. He gets up and comes out here. Now he's not lit. So I put another Nanlite Pavo tube vertical and I lit him right here. So that's what's creating that. And that's basically it for that. This one's an interesting one because I'm shooting out the back of a car with a Ronin 2 and this Alexa Mini, and he's riding his motorcycle. So basically we're in a crowded space, so there's a ton of passing cars that are lighting him. You also get some really unique flares from the headlight and those Cooke 5 eyes. You get a ton of awesome bokeh. So those were just like cutaway shots when he's thinking about something or when we're transitioning. Okay, moving on to a day exterior. One thing I wanted to invoke is the feeling of joy. This little girl is having fun with her father, and they run in here and they're eating candy and stuff. I chose this location. Now, we could have lit it and the background wouldn't have been as blown out, because I'm exposing, they're underneath these plants. So above them is like a natural diffusion right here. It's like a canopy. Instead of lighting them, I expose for them, and then you get this blown out feeling, which I actually wanted for this scene. You know, it's not always wrong to blow things out, blow your highlights out, in my opinion. I wanted that feeling of joy and euphoria and brightness, and so that's why I chose to do that. You got to make those choices. You got to know the feeling that you want to invoke and then shoot it in that way. I hope you enjoyed this breakdown from Fulbari. I wish I could get into more, but I don't want this video to go on forever. So until the next time, see you later.